Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here today with another astrology video in our 5 stages of a relationship series. And today we're still in the stage 1 of a relationship, which is the attraction and the romance stage. But we have finished the SYNASTRY of this stage and now we're moving into the composite chart of this stage. So I have made an introduction video on this series. Links up above and description box below if you haven't seen that. I would recommend that you watch that one first, and then you can come back and watch this video to get a clear understanding of what we're talking about here. So in the next few videos, I'll be talking about the composite chart to kind of show you guys that, in this stage of a relationship, what is required within the composite chart or the relationship chart between you and a partner. Meaning that what kind of relationship dynamics do we need in this stage of a relationship? What are some of the criteria that you need in your relationship dynamic? So in general, there are about 7 criteria that we need in a relationship, and that includes, of course, chemistry and spark, understanding, security, joy and peace, commitment, respect, and you. And so I already talked about this in the introduction video. So yeah, here I will be telling you which of these criteria is needed in the composite chart in the first stage, and how you can check your composite chart with your partner to see if you meet these criteria and have these themes going on or not. So if you're not sure how to get a composite chart done between you and a particular love interest, I will go through it with you real quickly. So you can go to astro.com, click on the extended chart selection tab, open that up, put in the birth information of you and a partner. So you will need to choose both your birth information, and then in the second drop down box you can choose your partner's birth information. And then you have a choice to choose the chart. So you will choose this one, this composite chart midpoint method here. And I highly recommend that you go to the additional selections there, and then you kind of choose. I would recommend that you sort of lower the orbs to about 80 degrees. You turn on aspects to all objects. So we have aspects to the midheaven and the ascendant, as well as the nodes. And then you can click to turn on the quintiles and biquintiles, which are very important in astrology and especially in relationships. And the last thing you may want to do is you may want to turn on a couple of asteroids such as Juno. You may want to turn on the vertex if you like. So when you and a particular love interest are still in the first stage of a relationship, the attraction or the romance stage, there are 3 criteria that should be met in this stage. So the first one is the chemistry and the spark. The second criteria is the joy and peace that really attracts you to each other. And the third criteria is understanding. But in this video, I'll be addressing specifically just the chemistry and the spark. So there's 4 different types of chemistry and spark that you can see as part of a relationship dynamic. The first one is, of course, how to see in the composite chart to see if you have the sexual chemistry within this relationship dynamic. So with regards to this, we're talking about, attitudes, for example. Do you have the same attitudes towards, sex? This also means you have the same sort of sex drive, that's very important, as well as timing. Does one of you want to go slower and the other one faster, and the actual timing that occurs in the bedroom as well. The second one is in terms of intimacy, a feeling of connection on a spiritual level, as well as having a lifestyle that allows you to be together and bond and connect with each other. The next chemistry is in terms of romance. Do you have similar types of gestures and expressions to show love? And do you have the same attitudes towards what you consider to be romantic and how you want to create that kind of romantic atmosphere in your relationship? And the third, chemistry, is actually very interesting, and that is challenge. If a relationship is challenging, if there's something different, a bit of a friction between the two of you within a relationship dynamic that's going on, that is going to be very attractive. So when we're talking about, first of all, the sexual chemistry, I'm going to list a couple of things that you can check for in the composite chart to see if your relationship has that sexual atmosphere going on. The first thing you can look for is a sun in the 5th house. You can either use the Davidson or the composite chart for this. I forgot to mention. This can be either the Davidson or the composite chart. The sun in the composite or Davidson 5th house is showing that there is a mutual physical attraction between the two of you, leading to feeling that both of you brings a certain amount of pleasure, which means sex. And this is a fun kind of a sexual relationship. The next thing you can be looking for is Mars in the 8th or the 5th house in the composite or the Davidson chart. Of course, Mars is the planet of sexuality, and if you have this in your relationship, then the sexual nature of the both of you is either going to bring you a lot of pleasure and fun in the 5th house, or depth, and it's gonna bump up that need to be very sexual with each other if Mars is in the 8th house. You can also look for Moon in a conjunction, sextile, trine, opposition, square to Mars. With the easy aspect, so that's this one, I think we can consider the conjunction to be pretty blendable. So the conjunction, the sextile, and the trine, this is showing that the both of you have actions and reactions that are on the same page, and this makes the sex life an emotional one as well. So there's an emotional attachment within the bedroom because of the way that the two of you are responding to each other's reactions or reacting to each other's actions, that makes that passion, that ignites that passion. With the square and the opposition, the passion may ignite when you are sort of in conflict or after conflict, or when you're sort of fighting with each other, and then you feel like, with the opposition, it's like you're fighting with each other and then you just want to rip each other's clothes off and then jump in the kitchen table. With the squares, it's the sort of tension that's going on underneath the surface, and you may need the tension to die off, and then afterwards you feel like, wow, that was so intense, I just now feel like I want to rip their clothes off. Okay, you get the idea. The next thing you want to be looking for is Jupiter in the 8th house of a composite chart. Jupiter expands the house that it falls into in astrology, and expands whenever it touches. So if Jupiter is in the 8th house, which is the house of sexuality, and amongst other things, it's going to want to make the two of you have a lot of sex together, especially if Jupiter is making aspects to Mars. Then it's going to make you have a lot of sex, whether that may be enjoyable or not enjoyable. You can't really tell from this, but it's going to just make you want to have a lot of sex. Neptune conjunct Mars. Initially in the first stage of a relationship, this causes the both of you to feel like the other person fits your sexual fantasy and what you've always dreamt of in the bedroom, meaning that, because they really fit in your idea of a perfect sexual partner, you can open up to each other about your fantasies and what you want going on in the bedroom, and the other person seems like they can fulfill that. This is not, however, something that may be or may not be workable over time, meaning that it depends. If Neptune and Mars is doing other things in the SYNASTRY and the composite, But this can show a dependency on each other with regards to sex, and when the other person doesn't meet what you need in the bedroom, then you can sort of get into this victim kind of mentality, depending on them for that. But it really depends on how aware the two of you are and how the other things are going, what else is going on there in the composite. You may also want to look for, of course, a Venus conjunct, opposite, quintile, biquintile, sextile, trine, Mars in the composite. This is, of course, this is a very physical aspect. This is showing that in the bedroom, when it comes to the physical, in the actual intercourse, it just works. The conjunction, it works so well. You may need to spice it up a little. The opposition is great. The sextile and the trine, there's enough difference to keep you going, but not so different that it causes a weirdness in the bedroom. So this is really a great physical aspect to have. Having a Sun conjunct Mars in the composite is showing that two very hot planets are right next to each other in the composite chart. So there is a lot of heat when the two of you are together with regards to your physical body. And that can be because, it's sort of like the energy between the two of you. When it meets, it locks into each other in a very exciting, heated way. And therefore it causes the two of you to want to be closer together. You know how like when you're like sometimes sitting next to a person and you can kind of feel like the heat from their body, and then you get heated up and then you just want to get a little bit closer and then you just want to get it going. That's what we got going on there. The last thing that you can look for is going to be having a North Node in the 8th house. Oh, this is like the two of you are coming together in this relationship to explore all things of the 8th house, to make the 8th house a goal of a relationship. It's like, this is where you're both moving towards. And the 8th house represents a lot of things, but it also represents really, really deep intimacy and sex. So if you have this in your composite chart, you and your partner are likely to be wanting to get exploratory in the bedroom. And it can feel it can bring a lot of growth. The depth that you go to with regards to sexuality in this relationship brings you so much self-awareness, learning about your psyche and your psychology, and so much growth. So there we have it with the sexual chemistry in the composite chart. Now let's have a brief look at the intimacy that may occur at this stage of a relationship. So one of the most, shall we say, telltale signs of deep intimacy that can be felt since the very first stage of a relationship is a Venus-Pluto aspect in a composite chart. So if you and a partner in a composite chart have a Venus trine, sextile, conjunct, opposite, even a square, and a quintile or biquintile, all, except in conjunction, all of the Venus-Pluto aspects in the composite chart is showing that there is a depth of intimacy. But with the opposition in the square, and sometimes the conjunction, you are being intimate with each other, but you discover later on that you're not actually wanting the same things with regards to the intimacy with the square and the opposition. There is a difference there. And because of those differences, but you still feel like you want to be intimate, you may control and manipulate each other to make the other person change the way they approach intimacy to suit your way of approaching intimacy. And this may be with regards to money, this may be with regards to sex, or with regards to, how you spend time together, anything. So watch out for those two, but the other aspects are really, really deep, and it can be felt like, it feels like it's this unexplainable feeling, like the other person really sees your desires and is really willing to give it to you because they have a similar way of having their deep desires met. So this is great for intimacy. Romance. Indicators in the first stage of a relationship of a great romance is having Neptune in the 5th house in a composite chart. First of all, Neptune is a very romantic planet in the house of romance, which is the 5th house. You're gonna want to bump up each other's, you know, you're gonna be that couple that has dinner together with candles going on, with music. Maybe you have your own playlist together, you know, it's your playlist and you select music together, and every time you listen to it you feel nostalgic and romantic for each other. That's very Neptunian kind of a thing in the 5th house, the house of creativity. So you get the idea. The next thing is having a Venus sextile, trine, conjunct, square, opposite Jupiter, not the in conjunction, but all the other aspects to Jupiter is gonna, you know, Venus is the planet of, you know, sensuality and romance. Jupiter expands anything it touches, but this is romance on a more, not a Neptunian one where you're feeling it, but it's more on a doing it. So feeling romantic over that meal that we had the other day, because we both loved the same food and the food looked so beautiful when it was presented to us, and then you being there, you know, with that beautiful food just made everything so beautiful, because Venus is the planet of beauty. Like that kind of a romance, if you see what I mean. The next thing you can be looking for, a high degree of romance then. So we can put Venus and Neptune together, and then we have blown out romance. So Neptune in a square, conjunct, opposite, trine, sextile, biquintile, quintile to Venus. Very romantic, but the conjunction, the square, or the opposition may create too much of an idealism, meaning that at the start of the relationship it feels like they fit your ideal romantic partner, but it may be they fit their ideal romantic partner because it's not because of what they're doing, but it's because of their aura or the way they project themselves to be that way. But the things they actually do, you may discover later on that it's not. So it could be an illusion, all right? Or it can cause some disappointment, especially with the square. When you become more of yourselves, it can turn out to be a bit of an illusion. But the trine and the sextile and the quintile and the biquintile and the composite is just beautiful, because it is now you're combining a physical, you know, beauty with a feeling of beauty, spirituality. You see what I mean here? Okay, on to the last type of relationship chemistry, and that is challenge. So the first thing you can look for in the composite chart to see if you and your partner have some friction going on that's very feisty, very, you know, sparks that chemistry in each other, makes you want to see each other again because you bring a bit of a challenge to each other, is if you have a Venus conjunct or opposite Uranus. Or square, sorry, conjunct, square, opposite Uranus. So this is like the other person is bringing in something very different. Culturally, even, this can be like a cross-cultural kind of relationship. Or maybe they are from a different socioeconomic background, or, you know, they spend money in a different way, or they find something else of pleasure that is different from what you find as pleasurable. It can be any of these things, it can be all of them, it can just be one of them. But it brings that excitement because they're so different. And for these three aspects, the one that actually is the most balancing is the opposition. It's the one that can keep the relationship going. The conjunction and the square can lead to a breakup, makeup kind of a thing, because it's so exciting at first, but then it doesn't really last, because Uranus is like a lightning that strikes. Once the lightning finishes its strike, it's gone. It can come back, but it will be gone for a while. So, you know, this aspect is really it's challenging because what it's actually trying to do in your relationship is it's trying to get the two of you to be free, to let each other be free. Meaning that you're here to show each other something different, but at the end of the day, you may still have to go back to your comfort zone, but then you may come again to bring in something different to the relationship, and it gets exciting, but then you have to let each other go and be free. That's why it's challenging, but it's very exciting. The next challenging aspect in a composite chart is when you have a sun, moon, opposition, or square. The sun-moon opposition actually it can be really good actually, because the way that the both of you go out and do things in the world, which is the sun, and the way that, you know, that comfort within your more private settings supports the ability for you to go out and get things in the world together, it's balanced. At first it can seem like, you know, it's too different, like when you're together you're so intimate maybe, or when you're out you're so social. But if you can see that as being an energizing kind of a energetic exchange, then it can be very balancing. But the square between the sun and the moon, this is going to keep you on your toes, because what the two of you want and need are actually not the same, but you are still willing to adjust your needs and your wants to suit the other person's sort of lifestyle, what they need and what they want, because there's an energy there, and there's an energy exchange there to make you want to change something about yourself, explore something that's different. And so this can be exciting at the start, but later on in the relationship, this can be a bit tiring, because at the beginning of any relationship, we're so involved with the other person, but as time passes by, we kind of want to prefer to do other things in life. There's a lot going on. There's jobs, there's careers, there's families, there's health issues, and we don't have enough time anymore to sort of put so much energy into meeting the other person's wants and needs if we have to change so much of ourselves. So this all depends on, you know, the individual people and how, you know, how much of a challenge they like in the relationships. The next challenging aspect that can be very, very exciting and can cause the two people to have a lot of chemistry is to have a Uranus square or opposite Mars in the composite chart, and even the conjunction and conjunct to Mars in the composite chart. This is showing that if it's a conjunction, the way the two of you spontaneously react to anger and the way the two of you spontaneously take action in life is the same, and therefore you're gonna run with it like Shinkansen speed train. It's going really fast. You don't know where you're going? Well, the train actually knows where it's going, but you're going really fast and you don't know where it's going, but you're gonna go with it. But the square and the opposition means that the way you spontaneously respond to a lot of things in life, the way you spontaneously take action, your impulses, and the way that you get angry is not the same. And with the opposition, it can be sort of like you can have this big blow up, and with the square, you can have lots of irritations and things going on, because your impulses are not the same. The way that you spontaneously do things is different. But at the beginning, it's exciting because you've never seen the way another person spontaneously does things before, so you get excited with it. And but later on, it's like you have to just let each other go your own way, as with all Uranus aspects. This one is still teaching you. It's challenging because it's teaching you to let each other go their own way. The last challenging aspect in a composite chart that causes a high level of chemistry is having a Mars square Pluto in the composite chart. Ooh, this one is like, Your egos are at war against each other, but you like it. One person thinks they're right, the other person thinks they're right, but it's so attractive because you now want to prove yourself. At the beginning of relationship, it causes this feeling like, well, I'm going to show you that I'm better in the bedroom. If you think that you're better, well, I'm going to show you I'm better. And then you're going to try to prove that to each other by doing it in the bedroom and being better than the other person. So it's like, it's exciting at first, but later on, there can be some resentments here, okay? Because you're going to start to feel like, well, then do you really appreciate what the things that I do for you in the bedroom then? If you're always trying to win me over? That kind of a resentment can come up. So to make this one kind of workable long term is to dial down the energy a little bit and kind of, you're both gonna have to kind of be a bit meditative with regards to, who's gonna be right, who's gonna win in the bedroom, who's gonna be better. You're both probably really good anyways in the bedroom with each other. So just enjoy it. Take your head out of it for a little bit. Take your egos out of it for a little bit. Just enjoy the moment. It's kind of a thing here. Oh, with regards to romance, having a Venus conjunct, trine, or sextile to the ascendant. This is showing that it's really easy for the both of you to show affection to each other and to be romantic with each other. So easy because it comes out on the ascendant level. And that's it for how to check if your relationship dynamic meets the first criteria in the first stage of a relationship of having a chemistry and a spark or not. So in the next video, I will be talking about another criteria that your relationship should meet within the first stage of the relationship. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you already subscribed, thank you very much for coming along. I do birth chart readings, SYNASTRY relationship chart readings. All the information is on my website. You can check it out. And yes, I'll see you very soon, beautiful souls. Bye.